All right, it's time to do a look at the election coming up in Brazil. So on October 2nd, they will have their election, and it could go on to a second election if there's not a clear winner. My understanding is that if a candidate doesn't get 50% of the vote, there will be a second election, I believe October 30th. So I was initially just going to do a reading and say, who's going to win this thing and leave it at that. But sometimes the tarot demands that I do a deeper reading. And so I ended up doing about a 10 card reading and looking at a lot of different things with this election, including who's going to win, how they're going to win, and what the overall effect is going to be for Brazil and the world. So it was a very interesting reading, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. All right, so the two main candidates, I don't know if there's other ones, and it doesn't really matter because the other ones aren't going to win. The two main candidates, though, are Jair Bolsonaro. Am I saying his name right? Any Portuguese or Brazilian people that want to correct my pronunciation, go for it. Bolsonaro, the current president, essentially. Some people love him, some people hate him, whatever. I'm just looking at the results. And then his contender, previous president of Brazil, I believe, Luiz Inacio Lula da Silva. Long name, I had to write it down to get it all. But right now, Lula, as he's affectionately known by his followers, is in the lead, my understanding is. But there's a lot going on, and I'm going to look at whether he still is going to have his lead in a month. A lot can happen in a month. A lot usually does happen in the final month. And there has been some recent changes in the polls between these candidates. So let's see what we can be expecting. So first, I looked directly at the results of the October 2nd election, how each candidate was going to fare. And for this, I'm seeing some very interesting things. So with Bolsonaro, the card that I'm seeing come up for how he's going to do is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is one of the strongest cards that you can imagine in something like an election. So based on that, I would say he is going to do pretty well, a pretty good showing. But on the other hand, his competitor, Lula da Silva, I don't know, do people just call him Lula? I'm not, anyways, let me just get into it. So I see for him the devil, and this is interesting. The devil usually is what we associate with materialism, winning in a very cunning way. It can be a very sly sort of person. So these two cards against each other, that's quite a match. That's, I don't know who would win between these two, honestly. And I think what this portends is that Bolsonaro is going to do well and have a good strategy, but I think Lula is going to kind of aim for people's emotions, and he's going to do pretty well too. So I think both the candidates are going to do pretty well, which led me to my next question. Is there going to be a second election on October 30th? Will the October 2nd election not be decisive enough to end it there? And for this, I'm seeing the Page of Cups, and the Page of Cups is sort of like it's definitely not the full development of a process. It's more just the beginning of a process. So in terms of, it's an emotion card. So I think this signals that this is just the start of this process, and that we can expect a second election on October 30th that will really determine the winner, the runoff election. That's what I'm seeing there. And then, so I looked then next at the second election on October 30th and how each candidate would fare. And for this, I'm seeing slightly different results. I'm seeing for Bolsonaro, the High Priestess. And the High Priestess I would not consider her somebody to be very successful in the popular realm. She's much more of a background figure that, she can be effective, but she's more, I see this almost as like a retreat backwards or a step backwards compared to that King of Sword card. And then for Lula, I'm seeing the Seven of Swords, and this is, I would say, a much more precise victory card. Like between these two cards this time, I would say that this card has a much better chance of winning. This is not what I would consider a popular success. This can still have an influence and a following, but this is more just a step back. So yes, my what I'm seeing with these cards is that yes, Lula is going to win, and it's going to be in the second election on October 30th. Now, aside from this, I wanted to look at some other things. I wanted to see, um, because some people have compared this election to the Trump Biden election in 2020, which raises a question: if Bolsonaro loses, is he going to accept the results, or is he going to contest them like Trump did? And for this, I'm seeing whether he would contest the results. The Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles, I do not see this as uh, contesting the election. I see this more as like, a sadness about it, but overall an acceptance and willing to go towards that, coupled with that High Priestess card. These two cards are both much more of a resigned energy. So I do not see him protesting, not in the same way that Trump did. And I see a slightly different change there. Now, I wanted to look next at how Lula's return to power is going to affect Brazil as a whole, and I looked at three different things, three main things: the environment, human rights, and the economy. How each of those is going to be affected by this, by Lula in power. And for the let's see, so for the economy, I'm seeing the Three of Cups, and I think overall this is positive. This doesn't totally surprise me that if he wins, I think it comes down to the economy largely because usually when the economy is not doing well, the current president does not do well. So I think that is largely why Bolsonaro is going to be put out of power. And then for the environment, I'm seeing Judgment card, which uh, my understanding, and again, I'm no expert on Brazilian politics, but my understanding is that a lot of environmentalists are not happy with Bolsonaro's treatment of the environment, the Amazon, and so on. So I think Judgment does tend to signal a rebirth and a more positive effect on the environment, which I think is overall positive. And then finally, I looked at the human rights issues in Brazil, how those will be effective. Um, yeah, basically the overall quality of life among people and so on. And for this, I'm seeing the Knight of Pentacles. And unlike the other two cards, this doesn't look like as big of a change. This seems like more of, it's a Knight card, so it is some action and some movement. But as the Knight of Pentacles, it's probably the slowest moving card. So I think there are changes that are taking effect. And as a Pentacle card, it's building a platform towards more positive things, but it's a very slow process. And I see this as not something you're going to expect a big change in overnight. And then finally, I took a look at the overall effect of Lula as president, how the overall effect on Brazil. And for this, I'm seeing the Four of Pentacles, another Pentacles card, which, tied with this Knight of Pentacles relating to human rights. Both of these signal slower processes. So I think the environment and economy, like the average person in Brazil is going to benefit from the economy and feel better off overall. The environment is going to overall be more positive, but I think the overall changes in Brazil are going to be slow, and transitioning to a new president is always a slow process. Change doesn't usually happen overnight, and I'm seeing a more gradual change. But as a Pentacles card, it is kind of building a stronger base, but this is the most this Pentacles card is kind of trying to hold on to what is good about the current situation rather than make huge changes to dismantle the past, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing overall I'm seeing Bolsonaro move out of power. I'm seeing Lula move back into power, and those overall effects on the Brazilian economy. And that's all I have to say about Brazil's election right now. I'm looking forward to seeing the results. I do keep track of my results, the predictions I make, and my overall predictions are about 90% accurate, I would say. But my election predictions to this point have been 100% accurate. So I'm always eager to see how things turn out. I will keep an eye on this election and see what happens. Let me know if you have any other topics you'd like me to do readings on, and contact me directly if you'd like a tarot reading or life coaching right here. And please subscribe if you want more tarot readings about world events. And monthly, I do horoscopes, and I hope to see you in future readings. Bye.